because since I did the site inspection at Memorial, we changed the location of the garage. Site anyway.
Yeah.
Chairs are too low.
Very good.
What's your name tag? Trudy Shepherd. What are you, deputy clerk? Sometimes I forget names. I'm getting yours pretty good. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy requirements of the Planning Act and council bylaws. Notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should the application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. Please state your name and mailing address for the record. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of this hearing. All interested parties are invited to be present. Copies of the decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other person who files a written request. There are colored forms for this purpose, which are available on the back table. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Municipal Board within 20 days of the decision for minor variances and within 20 days of the mailing of the decision for consent applications. I'd like to introduce our hearing panel. On my far left is James Federico, Don Cook, I'm Wayne Lockey, the chair, and this is Judy Shepherd, our acting deputy clerk. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
No, Mr. Chair.
No, Mr. Chairman.
I do not either. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
No, Chair.
And is there anyone in the audience who is interested in this application? Okay, the first one will be File A5, 2016P for Daniel and Christine Van Cheest. Is there anybody here representing this application? If you want to take a seat over here and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Pete Wieringa. I'm Christine's dad and Daniel's father-in-law. And the plan is this year to purchase their home at 506 Memorial Drive. And before that, subsequent to that, we want to do some of these renovations and changes.
Okay. Are there anybody in the audience who would like to comment? If not, members of the committee, any questions, any comments?
James?
I don't have any questions or comments. I think the application is pretty straightforward.
No comments. I'm glad to see that the garage has been moved from the east side to the west side. I hope
Yeah.
that really does not interfere with your existing septic bed. I noticed there is correspondence from the region that says that it shouldn't, but I would assume that if you have to replace the septic bed, you'd have to go to a different system.
Well, possibly, but that was the rationale is in the event that that happens, it'll be looked at and meet all the requirements at the time. And just they acknowledge that the location of the relocation of the garage will never be suitable for anything septic related, so they're concurring with
Yeah.
that.
So,
My pre-conference meeting kind of had the staff or the stakeholders in the meeting kind of said, just draw it in there as a future accessory building. And so when I did that on the initial application, then I wasn't thinking septic, you know, the health department kind of highlighted that. And so that's why I can make the change and live with the change.
so the existing garage, that's going to be converted into living space? Is that, no?
No, that remains.
So the future accessory building is going to be a garage, but that's...
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was just wondering. I have no difficulty. I did notice the front yard setback, at least it lines up with the existing setbacks there along that section of Memorial Road Park. So I have no real comments, Mr. Chairman, on the applications.
Okay, we're a little out of order here, my fault. I got to ask the secretary to read any correspondence, please.
The subject land is located on the south side of Memorial Drive, lying west of Center Street, being part of Lot 10, Concession 9, and municipally known as 506 Memorial Drive in the town of Pelham. The subject land is zoned agricultural A in accordance with Pelham zoning bylaw 1136, 1987. As amended, the minor variance application requests relief from section 7.4D minimum front yard to permit a reduction from the Memorial Drive street line setback to 6.37 meters, whereas a setback of 13 meters is required. Section 7.4C, maximum lot coverage, an increase of 18.6% is requested where 10% is allowed. Section 7.7A, maximum lot coverage, an increase of 4.6% is requested where 1% is allowed. And section 7.7D, maximum building height, an increase of 6.7 meters is requested, whereas 3.7 meters is allowed. The proposed variances will allow for the construction of a covered front porch, 2 additions to the main dwelling, and a future detached garage to the west of the house. Applicable planning policies, the lands are considered to fall within the rural areas policy and provincial policy statement. Rural areas means a system of lands within municipalities that may include rural settlement areas, rural lands, prime agricultural areas, natural heritage features, and resource areas. Policy 1.1.4.1D states development that is compatible with the rural landscape and can be sustained by rural service levels should be promoted. No municipal service connections are necessary for the proposed variance. The Greenbelt Plan 2005, the subject parcel is located within the Greenbelt Plan area's protected countryside designation. The parcel is located north of the nearest Greenbelt Natural Heritage System. Note that the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority has a natural environments screening area that reaches across the southern portion of the subject land. However, the natural heritage feature is located south of the property below neighboring development as well as Canberra Road. Policy 4.5.3 states outside of settlement areas, expansions to existing buildings and structures, accessory structures and uses, and or conversions of legally existing uses which bring the more into conformity with this plan are permitted subject to a demonstration of the following. Notwithstanding section 4.2.2.6, new municipal services are not required, and the use does not expand into key natural heritage features and key hydrological features. The proposed variances demonstrate both requirements listed above. The regional official plan designates the subject land as unique agricultural area, protected countryside. Policy 5B83 reflects policy 453 of the Greenbelt Plan. In unique agricultural areas, expansions to existing buildings and structures, accessory structures and uses are permitted. The town's official plan designates the subject land as specialty agricultural. According to policy B222, the principal use of land shall be for the production of specialty crops identified in the Greenbelt Plan. Permitted uses include single detached dwellings and accessory residential uses on farm properties in accordance with policy B2.1.3.5. It's noted that despite being zoned and located in an agricultural area, the subject property is small for the area and is considered to be a rural residential use that existed prior to the Greenbelt Plan coming into effect. The town of Pelham's zoning bylaw identifies the subject parcel as agricultural. Section 7.4, regulations for dwellings permitted in the agricultural zone. Maximum lot coverage is 10% and minimum front coverage 13 meters. Section 7.7, requirements for buildings and structures accessory to dwellings. Maximum lot coverage 1% and maximum building height 3.7 meters. The Committee of Adjustment in Section 45(1) of the Planning Act may authorize a minor variance from the provisions of the bylaw subject to the following considerations. The variance is minor in nature. The proposed lot coverage will be larger than the existing A zone requirements of 1% for accessory buildings and 10% for maximum lot coverage, totaling 18.6%. Considering the parcel size of 0.15 hectares, the added lot coverage can be accommodated with minimum impact, while still ensuring adequate amenity space and reserve space for the private sewage system. The reduction of the minimum front yard setback requirement of 13 meters for the dwelling's front porch to encroach up to 6.37 meters is minor given the existing front wall's current location relative to the street line. Presently, the legally non-conforming front wall is situated 6.705 meters from the street line and the proposed covered lot porch is to encroach a further 0.335 meters. It is noted that the dwelling is to the west also does not meet the front yard setback. The proposed setback on the subject land will be more than the adjacent neighbor's dwelling, and therefore no adverse impact on the streetscape is anticipated by the reduced front yard. The proposed accessory building height for a detached garage for an additional 3 meters is topographically specific due to the drop in grade at the rear of the proposed garage. However, the height of the garage, as viewed from the street, will be less than the primary dwelling and more in keeping with the bylaw requirements. Therefore, the division in height will not be noticeably different from the surrounding vantage. No negative impacts are anticipated by the adjacent neighbors, as adequate distance and vegetation buffers the surrounding uses from a deviation of the current zoning provisions. The variance is desirable for the development or use of the land. The variances are desirable for the property in question, as the addition will allow for proper storage of personal belongings and/or vehicles with minimum impact, allowing for the appropriate development and use of the owner's property. The two proposed additions to the dwelling increase the livable floor space while still providing adequate outdoor amenity space and are desirable for the subject land. Regarding the front yard setback, the proposed covered porch will add to the livability of the house and positively impact the public realm as it relates to the front yard. The variance for the increase in height for the accessory building is necessary due to the natural topography to ensure that the interior of the accessory building will have adequate height to be functional. The variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The increase of the maximum lot coverage is appropriate given the rural context. Ample amount of open space is available on the site, thus the increased lot coverage will not adversely impact the rural residential nature of the lot or the surrounding countryside. The increase of the accessory building height is insignificant and will still ensure the dwelling is maintained as the primary use of the site. The proposed garage is buffered by existing mature trees along the property lines and will not breach the tree line or exceed the height of the dwelling. For both these reasons, the variances maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw with respect to accessory buildings. The proposed front yard setback is less than what is required, but still includes a satisfactory setback as the zoning bylaw was intended to do. The encroachment also allows the applicant to cover his porch and more fully utilize the space, which addresses the public realm in a more active and positive fashion. The front yard setback variance will maintain the objective of the zoning bylaw. And fourthly, the variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The proposed use of a detached garage is permitted in the agricultural designation, and the variances to allow for such a development are appropriate given the site's context and meet the intent of the official policies. The proposed front yard variance, again, is minor and will not obstruct any of the purposes or intentions of the official plan. On February the 4th, 2016, a notice was circulated to agencies directly affected by the proposed application, including internal town departments and all assessed property owners within 60 meters of the property's boundaries. To date, the following comments have been received. Niagara Region Planning and Development Services private sewage system. No objection to the revised location of the proposed garage. The building department, all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. Public Works Department, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant is requested to provide the town with a detailed drawing showing the exact location and dimensions of the planned driveway corresponding to the new garage placement, along with a detailed grading plan of the site. Planning staff note that the subject land is designated specialty agriculture and considered high importance with respect to the Greenbelt Plan area. However, the property is too small in size and is an existing rural residential lot. It is noted that, as mentioned earlier, the NPCA and Greenbelt Natural Heritage System line south of the property illustrates a screening area surrounding the natural feature which reaches into the southern limits of the applicant's land. However, there are no noteworthy environmental features situated on the subject land, and the trees that do exist border the property. The neighboring houses that front Canberra Road to the south are more than adequate separation buffers between the vulnerable environmental lands and the subject land. Further to the proposed height of the detached garage, after a site visit from the planning staff, it was discovered that both neighboring dwellings on either side of the subject land have dwelt similarly with the steep topography during their construction. As seen in Appendix 2, the neighboring house was built with a second-level basement or garage, as is the case, to deal with the uneven ground. This is considered appropriate versus the practice of manipulating the land to level the foundation, particularly so in these cases where the structures are small in overall scale. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The subject application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and complies with the general intent of the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. The authorization of the minor variance is not expected to generate negative impacts on adjacent uses and on the community at large. Consequently, planning staff recommend that application file number A5 2016P be approved, subject to the following conditions. A detailed grading plan be provided before the issuance of any building permit. A detailed drawing be provided for the planned driveway as it relates to the new garage placement, and all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. And that's the report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, are there any other comments? Now that you've heard all of the, if not, any more questions? Could I have a motion, please?
I don't have it in front of me, why don't you go ahead?
I'll move the variances be granted, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a seconder to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. You have your minor variance.
Appreciate that.
Subject to the conditions as specified, particularly the lot grading plan.
Yeah.
The driveways and lot grading are very important to the town.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We'll go on to the next one. File A62016, James Spadoni. Is there any representatives there? If you'd like to take a seat. And our secretary will do this in order this time. And she'll read any correspondence.
The subject land is located on the east side of Lookout Street, lying south of Maryland Street, Stewart's Drive, within part of Lot 16, Concession 7, and known municipally as 1599 Lookout Street in the town of Pelham. The subject land is zoned residential 1, R1-212, in accordance with Pelham zoning bylaw 1136, 1987, as amended by bylaw 2817-2006. Relief from bylaw 2817-2006 is requested to permit a reduction from section 30-212 for minimum interior side yard to permit a setback of 1.8 meters, whereas 3 meters is required. The lands are located within the settlement area according to the provincial policy statement. The PPS provides that the focus of development will be within settlement areas, and development shall provide for a range of densities, a mix of land uses and opportunities for intensifications, taking into consideration existing planning and infrastructure. The subject land is located within an urban settlement area. Built-up areas are to be the focus of the new growth for communities. 1.2.2 guiding principles for the Greater Golden Horseshoe is based on the following principles. Sorry. Build compact, vibrant, and complete communities. Plan and manage growth to support a strong and competitive economy. Optimize the use of existing and new infrastructure to support growth in a compact, efficient form. The proposed dwelling will allow for a currently vacated property to be used for residential uses. The regional official plan designates the subject land as greenfield area within the urban area boundary. Regional policies also support intensification in urban communities with the focus of growth and development being within built-up areas. The subject site is surrounded by existing development, although it remains generally unoccupied with exception to a lone garage towards the rear of the property line. Policy 4C 5.1 designated greenfield areas will be planned as compact, complete communities by ensuring that greenfield development is sequential, orderly, and contentious with existing built-up areas, ensuring that the provision of municipal servicing is in accordance with the water and wastewater servicing master plans. The subject land is located within the urban living built boundary area of the town's official plan and surrounded by, but not part of, the Northwest Found Hill secondary plan. B1.1.1 states the purpose of the urban living area designation is to promote the efficient use of existing and planned infrastructure by creating the opportunity for various forms of residential intensification where appropriate. B1.1.2 permitted uses include, among others, single detached residential dwelling units, accessory apartments in single detached dwellings subject to policy B1.1.4. The town of Pelham zoning bylaw zones the subject parcel with a site-specific residential 1, notwithstanding subsections 13.2E of the R1 zone. A single detached dwelling located on these lands shall be subject to providing a minimum interior side yard of 3 meters. It is noted that when the property was rezoned in 2006, the minimum side yard requirement was increased from 1.8 meters to 3.0 meters. Also, the continued use of the existing detached garage is lawfully permitted in advance of the construction of a single detached dwelling. The Committee of Adjustment in Section 45 of the Planning Act may authorize a minimum variance from the provisions of the bylaw, subject to the following considerations. The variance is minor in nature. The proposed orientation of the dwelling a further 1.2 meters north towards the property line's required 3-meter interior side yard setback is appropriate given the ample open space surrounding the neighbor's built form and large front yard setbacks. It is also noted that the subject lands are lower in grade than the adjacent property to the north, and the required side yard setback will not adversely impact the adjacent property given the grade difference. The reduced interior yard setback proposed for the detached dwelling will have a minimum impact on the site, the property, drainage, and the surrounding area, and is therefore considered minor in nature. The variance is desirable for the development or use of the land. The variance sought will allow the applicant to build a detached dwelling that meets their desired needs. Specifically, the development will also allow the continued use of a straight-line driveway that runs adjacent to the dwelling to meet the existing detached garage towards the rear of the property without maneuvering around a centrally oriented house. The proposed variance is considered to be desirable for the use of the land. The variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The proposed encroachment keeps the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw such that the new interior side yard setback would match the original R1 setback provisions. Adequate drainage requirements are still met for the proposed dwelling and would not negatively impact the neighboring drainage plot. The variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The proposal maintains the general objective of the official plan by allowing for development within an urban area in a contiguous fashion by utilizing all existing lots within the built boundary and promoting intensification. On February 4th, 2016, a notice was circulated to agencies directly affected by the proposed application, including internal town departments and all assessed property owners within 60 meters of the property's boundaries. To date, the following comments were received. Public Works Department, no comments. Building Department, all necessary permits are required before construction commencing. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The subject application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and complies with the general intent of the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. The authorization of the minor variance is not expected to generate negative impact on adjacent uses and on the community at large. Consequently, planning staff recommend that application file number A6 2016P be approved, subject to the following condition. All necessary permits are required before construction commencing. And that's the report.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, would you like to introduce yourselves for the secretary? And,
Jamie Fedoni, I'm acting as agent for my dad, James.
okay, would you like to comment on anything that she has read, or?
No, it all seems pretty straight cut.
Okay, any questions, any comments from the committee?
I'm not in favor of seeing reductions to side yard setbacks, only because in my past life, I've had to deal with them, and I find they've caused a great deal of difficulty in drainage. So reducing it doesn't sound like much, it's 1.2 meters, which is, well, yay. But it may mean the difference between flooding your basement or not flooding your basement, depending on how you can get your water around, get the water that's coming off your neighbor who's higher than you. And I did notice that from the lot grading plan that's been done for you by Upper Canada, it's pretty specific, and you're going to have to follow that really close. And it's going to be a lot more difficult than you think it is. So, like I said, I think that you could probably relocate your home about the 1.2 meters south and not really impact on your existing driveway.
It's the way the building's been planned already, designed, that's the biggest problem.
Because I was out there and I did have a look, and I thought, like, it's 1.2 meters, and it would appear that you had about 2 meters right now. Well, you actually have 2.55 meters from the existing curb to the edge of your home, according to this drawing that I have in front of me. And to me, to move it even part way, give you a little bit more clearance between the south side of your house, north side of your house, and your north property line. I think that would help you down in the future for your lot drainage. I'm sorry, Mr. I can't support this variance.
There is no drainage problem there now with the garage.
Well, you're regrading, and you're going to have some grading issue. You may have a grading issue between the rock wall, your neighbor's rock wall, and your foundation, because you just may not have enough room to put an adequate swale in there to catch the water coming off his property. That's all I'm saying. And like I say, I'm not really in favor of granting side yard setback reductions when it comes, basically for the reasons of drainage.
James?
I'm just trying to check on the drawing and see on the maps how far back then the other house is going to be from the Armorstone, because again, I mean, yeah, no,
It's a little better scale.
here, that is a little better scan, isn't it?
So the variance may be minor, but it could cause you a big problem. And
It's understandable, but he's ready to take on that responsibility in every way possible.
It's a very narrow lot, isn't it?
It is an error.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of room. How much room do you have on the other side?
there's, from the driveway to your lot line, there appears to be quite a distance actually between the driveway and your, what would be your southerly property line. Are you going to be, will he be removing some of the concrete? Because it appears right now that that driveway was to service the building, the garage in the back.
That's correct.
And also the garage to the house to the south, because there is a garage door on that. So the property line right now, you're basically the south property line, it would appear to me, just using my eye, it's just meets the 3 meter setback to the garage, where the property line, your south property line is now, to the garage to the house to the south. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it appears you have lots of room. You have 13.94 meters from the south edge of the house to the south property line, so there's lots of room there. What I'm saying, you've got lots of room here, from there to there, and you've got 2.55 meters there. They're asking for a reduction of 1.2 over here. I know that when you construct this foundation wall on this side, you're gonna be really close to the curb, because you're gonna have to over excavate for the weeping tile and all that too, so. I'm just a little,
And that's the other side, right? You'd hate to make them tear out
yeah,
what's there exactly, you know?
but I think with some careful excavation, there won't be a problem. You should be able to get the weeping tile in and the foundation in that 2.55. It's gonna be reduced a little bit,
Right.
but I'd like to see as much side yard setback on the north side of the house as possible.
You've had drainage people out there and they say they can do it, everything?
What I understand, yes, he has checked it out, whatnot, and the different aspects of getting rid of the water and any sewer and whatnot, pump ups and whatever has to be done. He's gonna do that regardless. I think it is mainly because of the garage that the next door neighbor faces that side.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. We'll be fair with both neighbors.
Well,
Well, I mean, we do have a pretty good drainage plan here, right? Including the stormwater pit and everything else, so it's not
Well, it
like,
would appear, they're going to try and, put some of the stormwater back into the ground. That's basically sandy soil up there.
right.
So, from that point of view, I don't have a problem.
Right. And it,
I've got a picture of this on the computer if you want to have a
no,
look.
no,
at it. And the land definitely does slope from west to east, so there's really no,
right. Yeah, it's all moving from front to back,
yeah.
and it's sandy and drains pretty, yeah.
And there's a rear yard catch basin in the northeast corner.
Right. Okay.
are we ready for a motion?
I think so. Mr. Chair, I'll move that we grant this application for relief from zoning bylaw 1136 as amended by bylaw 122817 to permit a reduction from section 30, 2012 for the minimum interior side yard to allow a setback of 1.8 meters, whereas 3 meters is required, on the condition that the applicant be required to obtain all necessary building permits prior to continuation of any construction to the satisfaction of the chief building official. The reasons are that, as were outlined in the correspondence.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? You can second the motion, it doesn't mean you
Okay,
have to
I'll
vote
second,
for
I'll
it.
second the motion.
Okay, those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Thank you, your motion is granted. And
Thank
your
you.
minor variance is granted, I guess, with one committee member's advice, you should maybe look into.
He'll make sure that it doesn't,
Yeah.
proceed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take that one. Okay.
We have some
Housekeeping.
housekeeping. Good way of putting it. Minutes for approval, Committee of Adjustment hearing October 6th. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll move, we accept.
Seconder?
I can't, I wasn't here.
Okay, I'll second it.
You have to. I think that's why Nancy's got them the way she's got them this way.
Okay. I'll second.
Oh,
When
okay.
we approve it, I guess.
Yep.
Then, yeah,
Committee of Adjustment,
For the meeting of
January.
January 12th, Mr. Chairman, I'll move the minutes be accepted. I did notice,
Oh, sorry. We're doing January 12th, are we?
No, we did October 6th.
we did October
October
6th.
6th, and this is February 11th, right?
No, the
No,
minutes,
they're in there.
the minutes,
The
of
minutes.
the minutes of October the 6th, we dealt
Oh,
with.
you're still discussing? Okay.
No,
No,
we
we
moved
just
it.
approved it.
Now we're moving on to the minutes of,
Okay,
the
now we're
minutes of
going
January
to,
12th.
to
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
January.
Yeah,
yeah.
January 12th.
Yep,
The third lot.
No, second lot.
second lot.
COA 01
Okay.
2016.
01216.
Okay, they're in different order on here. Okay.
I did notice one spelling mistake on page 51, or Judy can correct
Are
it.
you moving them?
We're moving acceptance of the minutes.
Done. Yep.
I'll second that because I was here. And those were approved, I guess.
Right?
And,
Yes, I'll take the corrections back to Nancy for sure.
okay, on February the 11th, and I wasn't here on that one. But do we have them?
You were the chairman.
I'll move that we accept them. I did read these ones pretty closely
Yeah.
on Nancy's advice.
I did read them, but I'm not really good on the screen, so.
Okay.
I made some minor amendments to pages 58, 59, and 63.
Who seconded these?
I did,
Don?
because I was here.
All right.
They were both here. I was
Okay.
here.
All in favor? Carried.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave my minor notes with Judy, and she can
Perfect. Yep.
deal with, okay?
So I need you to sign